Good evening and welcome to the Portsmouth School Board meeting for March 10th, 2009. I would like to ask the superintendent to please take the roll call.
Regarding attendance for this evening, please, Ann Mayer, SAU 50 rep.
Here.
Rebecca Emerson.
Here.
Dexter Legg.
Here.
Patrick Ellis.
Here.
Kent LePage.
Here.
Sherry Ham Garrity.
Here.
Dr. Mitch Schildman.
Here.
Ann Walker.
Here.
Leslie Stevens.
Here.
Lisa Sweet.
Here.
Abby Rockefeller.
Here.
Thank you. I'd like to ask everyone to rise in a second and ask Sherry Garrity to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and just ask you to spend the moment with your own thoughts.
Mr. Chairman, in our thoughts tonight, could we please keep our head librarian at Portsmouth High School in our thoughts and prayers? She lost her son. Joan Chris has been with the Portsmouth. Matter of fact, she will be retiring this year, and an outstanding lady that has developed a great library program, but unfortunately she lost her son. I believe it was last Friday, and she's be absent, so if we can keep her in our minds.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would like to entertain a motion to accept the February 10th regular school board meeting minutes.
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? I see none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I think we're going to hold off on the February 12th budget work session and ask for that at the next meeting. Thank you. Superintendent Lister, if you could walk us through some of the communications from this last few weeks.
A couple of communications. The first is the Harbor Lights newsletter from Little Harbor School Informational. The second item is the March Elementary Lunch menu, and I always have a note here that board members are always welcome to join us in the schools for lunch and have lunch with the kids, and we'd be more than happy to have you there. The third item is the New Franklin Gazette newsletter, which is also informational. And the only other item I'd like to mention is that we encourage everyone to use the master calendar, which is online, which talks about different activities in all the schools, so you can attend some of those activities and see what activities our staff and students are involved in, and we have lots going on, especially with the spring coming, so we welcome you to those. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Under other, Ann?
I just wanted to comment how much I have enjoyed reading the Little Harbor newsletter and the New Franklin, and also getting information from John Stokel about the middle school. They're terrific. Really well done.
Yes, Lisa.
And I also wanted to comment, I thought that both of the principals' notes were excellent, and the article in the New Franklin Gazette on early release days was very good information that I would really love to share district-wide, because I do hear that question, what are they doing on the early release days? I hear that a lot, and so I thought that was a great article, and maybe we could share that to a wider audience at some point somehow.
Yeah, the way we could do that.
We can talk about putting that online or making
Yeah.
it available through. Let's see if we can put it online.
Okay,
Okay, that'd be great.
great, thank you.
Anyone else? So moving for recognition and update of staff and students, we have a very momentous occasion tonight.
Well, we have two momentous
Two.
occasions. I'd like to recognize all the paraprofessionals and teachers who are in the audience from the different elementary schools and I believe the middle school and the high school too. We said high school, but certainly all the paraprofessionals that are sitting before us as a group, and we appreciate that. And secondly, I'd like to introduce our new principal beginning July 1st, 2009 for Little Harbor School. You know that we've been through the whole interview and search process. We've completed that process, and on February 10th, the school board agreed to nominate and provide a contract to Charles Grossman. Charlie is here this evening, and I thought it was really important because he's coming into the Portsmouth school systems. We're very excited for him to be here. He's as excited about coming in. His background is that he has a master's degree in reading from the University of New Hampshire. He also has a bachelor's degree from St. Anselm's College. He has experience as a teacher. He's presently the assistant principal at Nottingham Elementary School, and we were very pleased when we sent a group of people to Nottingham Elementary School that they were very welcoming to us, very encouraging, very sad to lose Mr. Grossman. So their loss is our gain. We're very pleased that he's here this evening, and I didn't know if the board would like to either ask any questions. This is not an interview because he's had several. But if anyone has any questions, if he wanted to come to the podium, and after we're finished, I'd like him to come up and shake everyone's hands, and then we'll let him go home to his family. He lives in Newburyport, and he has 2 young children, and we're really excited for him to join us, and so is the Little Harbor School and community. Looking forward to him being there, so.
Thank you.
So Charlie, do you want to come up and try not to grill you here? Does anyone have any questions or any comments for Mr. Grossman?
Well, do you have anything before we ask questions that you'd like to say?
Well, I just wanted to say I'm incredibly excited about this opportunity, and I have to say that it was something of a grueling process, but it was a very enjoyable process. It seems like an unbelievable community. The kids were fantastic. The staff is fantastic. The parents are wonderful. The PTA, Dr. Lister, really did a wonderful job. It's just a great introduction to the school and to the district and to the city. And I'm very, very excited. I consider myself very fortunate to have the opportunity.
Great, thank you. Any questions or comments? Yes, Leslie.
Little Harbor has a long history of celebrating Halloween. You will be expected to dress up and participate in the parade. So start planning now because the bar is pretty high.
I don't know if you remember, but I've been duct taped to a wall, so.
Excellent. So you know what to expect.
So I can, I'll indulge the community in exchange for the
Although we do
opportunity.
allow people to, to be a principal in the way they're most comfortable.
Well, that's true. It's just one of those days that, gets a little wild and woolly there.
Just can't shave my head.
I'm sorry, Kent, yes.
Yeah, just first of all, I want to welcome you to one of the greatest educational systems in the country. And only thing, Charlie, is that you're down in Newburyport, which claims to be the home of the Clippers, and Portsmouth claims to be the home of the Clippers. So I do a lot of business down in Newburyport, so I watch what I say. But welcome to the true Clipper show.
I'm unable to comment at this time. But thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes, you could simply say, I support the Clippers.
Yeah, I'm still learning.
And before he comes up, if there isn't anything else before he comes up and just shakes, Patrick, did you have something?
No.
Sorry. I just wanted to thank the Little Harbor School community, the teachers, the parents, and business people who came out to be part of the several screening committees and several interviews that Mr. Grossman went through. We also had a screening committee of 5th graders, so there was a search committee which really consisted of several 5th grade students. And interestingly enough, when we came to the final analysis with the adult group and the student group, they all made the same choice. So we were very pleased with that. And I was really happy that we could engage the kids in the whole process. And but thanks to all the parents and the teachers out there, and certainly Mrs. Burdick, who has been very gracious through this whole process and really helped us out, and is really anxious to see Little Harbor School left in good hands. So we welcome Mr. Grossman.
Welcome. Come on up.
Oh, my goodness. I was gonna say he's gonna trip and fall.
Congratulations.
for the luggage behind here on trip.
Not on the payroll yet.
Yeah, right. This is not a workers' comp claim yet, right? School board meeting.
Probably could make out better.
Okay, thank you.
Is there a list of people who signed up to speak?
Thank you very much.
Is there a list of who's to speak?
I'll get.
Hey, turn that.
See my new toy, and I have no design.
Thank you for coming this evening.
Thanks, Charlie.
No? Okay, moving along, it looks like there's no one.
Leave of absence on these two.
Oh, I'm sorry, Steve. I left you out.
Oh, quite all right. We have two leave of absence requests to bring to you this evening. The first is that of Erica Carey, a counselor at PASS program. Erica is expecting her first child and is requesting requesting a leave of absence for the first semester of the 2009-2010 school year. She will complete 4 years with the Portsmouth School Department, hired at the beginning of the 2005-2006 school year.
Okay, we have a motion to
Move to
accept.
approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I see none.
The second request is for Elizabeth Humphreys, a preschool teacher at the Portsmouth Early Education Program. Betsy is requesting a second-year leave of absence for the 2009-2010 school year to continue an educational professional development opportunity. She is on a leave of absence this current year and has been employed with the Portsmouth School Department since 1997, completing 11 years as a preschool teacher at PEEP.
Thank you. Motion to accept.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? I see none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I see none. Thank you. Is that it? Yep. Okay. I guess there's nobody signed up to speak. Is that correct? Nobody signed up to speak. Would anybody like to speak before we'll open and close the public commentary? While you're here? Okay. All right. I see none. So public commentary session is closed. I want to apologize in advance to people who've come because we need to do some work for a second. So I could ask Sherry to make a motion.
A motion to go into non-public session pursuant to RSA 91-A, 32A and B, and we need a roll call vote.
Okay.
What is your pleasure, please? Rebecca Emerson?
Yes.
Dexter Legg?
Yes.
Patrick Ellis?
Yes?
Kent LePage?
Yes.
Sherry M. Garrity?
Yes.
Dr. Mitchell Schulman?
Yes?
Ann Walker?
Yeah, yes.
Leslie Stevens?
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet?
Yes.
Okay, unanimous?
Okay. So we'll be back shortly. Okay. I would entertain a motion at this point to go back into a regular session.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I see none. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Bartlett. Financials, thanks.
Okay, you have at your place the financials with the, in the new format, but you also have the commentary in the new format. For January is, everything I wrote down is essentially what I verbalized in the past. We were talking about timing issues with payrolls to explain some of the variances in the salary lines. And because we have months where we have 3 payrolls instead of 2, it's not always the same every year. Sometimes there's the months change. So we're running a different type of analysis, a year-end basis analysis for total salaries for all the salary lines. And based on that analysis, we are still targeted to hit our budget, with the exception that we know that the revised numbers on the teacher's contract were only partially funded by the city council, so we have to make up that amount of money. My hope is that because energy is still tracking reasonably well, that we will have enough savings from energy to be able to cover that. I pointed out in the past that the unemployment number is going to be higher. That will be higher at year end by a small amount. It shouldn't be too bad, but we've had sometimes you guess right and sometimes you guess wrong on that one. We pay as we go. So pretty much everything else we've talked about before. They're overages. The variances are pretty much subject to timing. We know that the cost center 165 variance is based on the fact that we wait until close to the end of the year or at the end of the year to do the general fund support transfer for cost center 207, which is in our tuition fees fund. Looking at cost center 207, you can see that the revenues have a tendency not to be consistent, but again, I'm looking at those in terms of a big picture year-end basis, and with the adjustments we talked about in the general fund support, I think we're going to be in reasonable shape at the end of the year. February.
Wait, can I have any
Yep,
questions
sure.
about January?
Sure, yeah.
Sorry. Okay.
Okay, February is the same, again, the same format with the comment sheet. You can see that in February, at the end of February, for example, the variance in the salary was smaller, and as again, that proved out the timing thing with 3 payrolls in January. The things that affect those other than the timing on some of the other ones, the teachers, of course, the teachers' figure will have an impact all year long because we know that is short by a small amount. And of course, the weather and maintenance issues dictate the overtime for the maintenance and the custodians in most cases. Let's see, repeat on the unemployment. There was one you'd asked about looking at some of the ones like drama. That's just a timing issue. That's going to end up at even. We've already discussed that with drama department. The speech, the explanation on the speech is that at the beginning of the budget season, we thought we would be covering some of those services using salary dollars, and we ended up having to do that with a contract service. So therefore, the amount under the 156 cost center shows a negative right now, but that's because it's compared to budget, and the budget transfer is not reflected on this particular exhibit until next month. We made a budget transfer from another special ed area to cover that necessity. 165 is the same. I am a little concerned about maintenance, and Kenny and I are working on that every week. It's kind of hard when you're cutting back to get that number correct, because we know last year it was over as well, and we've tried to build that back up, but we haven't built it back up enough. There may be some relief from some FEMA money for some equipment that was damaged during the storm that we have put in for FEMA reimbursement for. So hopefully that will come through, and that will serve to reduce that somewhat. We've also put in for insurance claim on that as well, so I'm not sure. The combination of both should help out with that a little bit. But Kenny and I work with it every week, and he's working on a plan. We're cognizant of the fact that it's 4 months left and we don't have much money. So there have been a number of unanticipated expenditures which we've had to take care of in maintenance from things like the storm and the power outages and some safety issues. So those have to be done, and so we'll just work the best we can to keep that at a minimum and try to save in some other areas, we hope. And again, the 207 is pretty much the same. It's tracking to come out where we expect it to at the end of the year. It's just that you can see the differences in each month, how it drastically affects the variances such for revenue. The expenditure portions are tracking as we had expected, and I think we're going to see a little bit of a reduction under budget in that based on some of the coverage that we had to have this year. So all in all, I'm predicting that we're going to make our numbers somehow at the end of the year, one way or another.
Sherry.
I just wanted to comment on the top sheet, and I really appreciate the comments and the little notes that explain some of the things without us having to ask each and every time about a particular line item. So thank you very much for doing that.
It'll be a regular item.
Thank you.
Steve, I should know this, but help me again. Where are you accruing the $400,000 to offset?
Cost center 165, which is on the second page, at the bottom of the second group up from the bottom.
Out of district.
Out of
Out of
district
district
tuition.
tuition, you're included in that bucket?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what we call that cost center.
Got it.
It has a number of accounts in it, but that's in one of the accounts that's in that cost center.
And are you accruing that on a monthly basis, or did you put in the whole $400,000?
We put in the whole $400,000 in the budget, so it was in the budget at the
Okay.
beginning of the year. We just haven't dispensed any of it yet.
Got it.
To across, because we'd like to wait and see
what the
to the
revenue
very
looks
end.
like.
And hopefully, the revenues shake out, and if the expenditures come in the way they're tracking, perhaps we won't have to move that all over, and we'll be able to cover perhaps some of the maintenance issues with that.
Good, thank you.
Okay. Good. Anyone else? Great. Thank you. Steve, moving on.
Okay. Economic stimulus update.
Yeah.
There was a sheet that was at your setting tonight. This sheet was a result of a meeting that the superintendent and I attended at Congresswoman Carol Shea Porter's office on one snowy Friday morning. I can't remember the date right now, but it was fairly recent. And the top portion talks about, and this has been changing so fast that these numbers are, again, all ballparks, and we've seen various versions of these numbers. Some of the information that came out at the work session, I guess it was last night, wasn't it? It's slightly different in the totals, but the concepts are essentially the same. The easiest one to get out of the way is to look at the bottom. They have decided that, and these may not be the exact numbers, but the order of magnitude is about the same. What we were told was that there will be additional funding, and I believe this is going to be over 2 years, additional funding that will come in under our Title I grant, Part A, and there will be additional funding under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act grant, Part B. And so the concept was that those grant allocations have been shrinking, and even if they hadn't been shrinking, they've been staying even. We've still, with inflation and everything else, we've sort of been losing ground. So they're targeting increases in Title I and IDEA grant for that amount, or approximately that amount, over the next 2 years. The question surrounding those is, what can you use them for? Those will be strictly, from what we understand now, and of course this is subject to change because it seems to change almost on a daily basis, these will be given to us by the same methodology that we get our current federal grants and be subject to the same regulations. Essentially, the short version of what that means is they will follow the federal supplanting rules, which means we cannot use that money to provide services in place of something that we don't have in the general fund. You cannot supplant the services with them. All we can do is increase the programs that we have for Title I and IDEA. Our biggest concern that day, and my biggest concern now, is if we have this money over the next 2 years and we have some extra programs and we have some extra coverage and services for the children and the students, what happens in year 3 and year 4? That is the toughest part of federal grants, is that you provide these services, so you have to be very careful what services you provide and how you provide them, because the funding is liable not to be there in year 3 and 4. And there is the comment that we got was from the Congresswoman was that the intent is that they would continue the increased level and support to these grants. However, a lot can happen between now and 2 years from now, so I think we'll hear more as it goes, and if it does come through, well, that'll be fantastic. If it doesn't, so I think what we will be doing with the grant managers and the administration is making sure that whatever we use these funds for will not be something that we will have to pull money from other sources in year 3 and 4 to maintain. I think Ian has a question.
Dan?
I wondered whether or not this would mean that we don't have to put the placeholder, the 400,000, as we have done in recent years.
Well,
Can that be used for that?
not directly, no, because that, to the extent that we can do it without supplanting, in other words, if there is something new that we can cover under the IDEA grant that would cover some of these students' needs, the answer would be yes. But to sit there and say that we're going to just take something out of 207 and pay for it with IDEA grant money for the sake of trying to reduce that 400,000 is exactly what the supplanting rules are designed to avoid.
Thanks. Sounded too good to be true.
Yeah, well, so that's the most straightforward part as we know it now. You want to?
I'm sorry.
All right, go ahead.
Did you have something else to finish?
I was going to talk about the top half, but
Well, just quickly in regards, Title I to me is always fairly a black and white. It's a IDA is a little more of a gray area because we are able to have flexibility on one-on-one students. I mean, the group that's here tonight, the paras that are here, if this money were to become truly realistic, and not the check in the mail type of thing, but when Concord is even done with it. So that we know whether it be $550,000 under IDA Part B, which again is even more, a little more fluid to me. We have been short on paras. Can we, and a question I guess I have, Steve, and a question I don't need it tonight, because you're quite right, I don't want to start programs that 2 years from now does not have support financially, but could we use that money to pick up on a para or two that we have been somewhat short, as long as they are under the IDA B format?
my understanding is that if it can be defined under the rules as providing additional services, new programs, it has to, as opposed to saying, well, we had to cut 5 paras, we're going to put them back in with IDEA.
So you cannot bring back?
Not the way you're thinking of it, but there is more flexibility in that than there is in Title I, because we always have enough turnover in the special needs populations needs that it could conceivably be considered to qualify as new program efforts under the guidelines. It's going to be one that's going to be very tricky and bear close interpretation and review by both our administration and the state.
So I just have a quick question, and so could you, or let me ask, when do you imagine the district would have a pretty clear understanding of how it would spend the money it gets?
Or Christmas.
Right?
When is it getting it?
Well, that's a
Well,
harder
well,
question.
you know, yeah, short of actually getting it, we actually have talked to both the the special ed director and the Title I and reading director in terms of start thinking about how, how this fits into the rules. So I don't have an exact date,
So
but
when
I'm
you
assuming
know,
in the
you'll
closest future,
report
we'd be able
back
to
to
come
us.
and say, this is what we can do within the regulations.
Okay,
Yes.
that'd be great.
But the point that I'm trying, I guess the thing that I'm trying to dispel is the fact that we could take 550,000 and take a bunch of
I
stuff out of the
understand
budget, and our contribution to the tax rate would go down. It's not going to happen with this money because it would be illegal.
Right.
The top half of money,
Question on the small, on the
Okay,
bottom half.
on the bottom half still.
Steve, just so I'm clear, so the $1 million is the total amount that we can expect from the stimulus package, and we don't know if that's paid in the first year or over 2 years?
at this point in time, I'm unsure as to whether we're going to get it all up front or we're going to get it spread out over 2 years.
That'll be-
Because the fiscal years for us in the federal government
Right,
aren't even
but based on
close.
what we know now, it's the 1 million, and we just don't know when it would be coming
We
in.
don't know when it's coming, and we don't know for how long exactly. Otherwise, it's supposed to be a 2-year window. I mean, if, I see emails every day on websites and things from International ASBO that say, the Secretary of the U.S. Department of Education says, it's coming, it's going to be quick, spend it fast, but don't waste it and keep receipts. I mean, so this is the type of stuff that we're getting.
Any questions?
And that's a direct quote. So we really, a lot of it's unknown. Everybody is working very hard on a daily basis. This changes. The governor has a website, and they're working, making changes. I looked at it yesterday morning before last night's meeting, and there are a number of things that said undetermined, because they haven't been provided with the guidance yet. But what I'm afraid of, when the guidance comes, it's going to be, if you need it by tomorrow type stuff. So we're trying to get geared up so that whatever we can do, we'll have. So, like I say, the directors that control these and the administrators, we've talked about this. And, we don't want to promise them money that we don't know is going to come. But, I mean, this seems like a fairly good bet that it'll show up because of the restrictions on it.
Okay.
Anything else on the bottom half?
Top
Okay,
part.
the top half, the way it was explained to us is that there is a pool of money that's coming into the state and it's going to actually go to the state, and the governor has, I guess, discretion over 18% and the other 82% will have specific guidelines and allocations, and that is the money which, if it's going to be able to help and take pressure off tax rates in school districts in the state, including Portsmouth, that will be the money. We're just not sure how it's going to come down and in what pieces yet. We've been told that in one case we were told that it would be allocated the same way. They determined the allocation the same way they determined our allocation for Title I, which has a number of poverty factors figured into based on your student population. The methodology is still unsure, but that's the best bet that we have in the state and school districts of being able to replace things that we'd have to cut in a budget. But again, if you go back and look at some of the websites that they asked you to go for, when I just quoted the Secretary of Education, there are some that say it's going to be restricted this way, it has to be done. There's some pretty strict parameters that appear to be thrown out for some of these pools of money, but there are lots of pools, and it's really too soon to tell. The other burning question that many people in the state have asked, school boards have asked superintendents or business administrators all over the state to be asking the Department of Ed, is there money for buildings and infrastructure? We heard there's going to be, can we get money for our middle school? Can we, other people can get money for the high school? Our understanding is, at the moment, that pool will not be big enough to do buildings for school departments and school districts. What it will be is a process possibly worked on through the New Hampshire Department of Education for projects that would have to be rated similar to the way that Maine now rates their building aid reimbursement for a little smaller projects from anywhere from 50 to 300,000 type things, maybe a little bigger. So we're going to have a bunch of projects ready to go because it's going to be somewhat competitive. They're going to rate them and see who gets the money based on other certain formulas. So my best hope is that we could use that to complete some of the roofs that we haven't been able to get into the CIP process that we're trying to stretch, or other grounds and infrastructure work. We've been told in no uncertain terms will have anything to do with athletic fields, but
About cafeteria equipment?
pardon?
Cafeteria equipment?
Possibly, if we can come up with a project. So again, Kenny and I are thinking ahead now, trying to figure out what we've got on our long-term list that we could move ahead and get a quick pricing for and go forward. So last night's meeting, there was a bit more information that came out and a few more variations and a few more websites to look at. But I think the biggest thing is it's rumored to be coming. It's rumored to be coming quickly, and we're not going to have much turnaround time. And everybody is just changing everything every day. I mean, there's so much speculation. So that's the best I have. But Dr. Lister was also there at the table, so perhaps he's got some words of wisdom to add to that, or maybe even a better quote than I had.
I couldn't beat that if I tried.
I guess another quick question on what we have on the bottom, Steve.
Yep.
If there was no plan moving forward in this year to buy equipment, books, things of that sort for the Title I program or for the IDEA program, I'm thinking specifically technology, interactive whiteboards, computers, books, something that where we can use this money as an investment instead of necessarily in a whole new program that then ends up getting cut. Right. Something, an investment in the system that we have now. Does that sound like it falls within the parameters they've set out?
We haven't got the parameters, that level of detail. All they're saying is it's going to follow the same parameters that the grants follow now. Now, we do, in some cases, buy some equipment, but there are restrictions on equipment in Title I. There are restrictions on equipment in IDEA. So to sit there and say we're going to buy a bunch of whiteboards and have, the special ed population use them first and then give them to everybody else, I'm sure they're going to be watching for that,
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Oops, sorry. Next, report from do you have anything from last night?
If I
That
could
was
just
Bob's.
add a couple of words
Okay.
here about the last night's meeting. In addition to talking about the economic stimulus, we did talk with City Manager, Mr. John Bohanko, and the City Council about the hiring freeze that has been imposed in all departments. We had an opportunity to talk about different aspects of the financial perspective of that, and when we were asked, the police, the fire, Public Works, and the school department, if there were positions that we needed to replace. At this time, we spoke about asking for permission to be able to hire the student services director, special education director, the assistant to Steve Bartlett in the central office, and a part-time custodian to be at the high school, middle school as a temp, until we have a person who's out on leave to come back. We thought if we could hire somebody to work as a temp between now and for the next 6 weeks, we could save some money on overtime and be able to give everyone a break from having to cover 2 or 3 different buildings. We were given permission by the city manager to do that, and I believe that even though some people believe that the hiring freeze has been lifted, I have to say that my take on that is that the city council is being very cautious about refilling positions. They're depending very heavily on the department heads to talk about the different needs that each one of the departments have. We have several retirements, 3 or 4 retirements this year. We've been very fortunate so far that we've not had to lay off any teachers. We're continuing with the budget process. We'd like to go through the budget process. It'd be nice if we didn't have to have any employees leave. That's something we're working on. But we were given permission to be able to fill those 3 positions. And Steve and I will be able to work with Mr. Bohanko to make sure that happens. Dexter was also here. Board Member Light was also in the audience. We appreciate that. But it was just an opportunity for us to talk about the hiring freeze. And again, I think what I really took away from that is the city council, for all the good reasons, are being very cautious about what positions they're refilling as they go through the budget process. So it'll take us all working together to make sure that we replace the positions that need to be replaced.
I would just say I watched it at home, and I actually felt that I was very appreciative of the city manager's position, which is that he's open and flexible and willing to talk to and listen to the department heads, and I thought that was a very rational stance. So, okay. Anything else under financial? Okay, moving on to the agenda. So we have on the agenda to vote on the tentative agreements for the paraprofessional units. We'll take each one up separately: custodial supervisor unit, the clerical unit, and the administrative associations. If I could just put, Mr. Bartlett, if I could ask you a quick question, maybe put you on the spot, but I apologize. We're going to forward these agreements to the city council. Could you just explain what the city council's saying that they're going to wait until before they act on these?
The, wish Attorney Flaggar was still here because he has a much better explanation than I do. But my understanding is that because it appears that the impact on the budgets would be higher than what was set aside last year, it would be taken out of either contingency or fund balance to fund them rather than make us make it up. And that's for everybody in the city, not just the school department. And so as a result, rather than going piecemeal, they were going to wait till further along in this year and try to package them all together and take them all to the city council so they so they go back to the well a minimum amount of times.
Okay.
And I believe there was also some concern about the retirement systems 125 rule determination, that there was a version that passed the House, but they were waiting for the Senate version to pass for the final delay in determination in fixing that. What we view in this, certainly in the city of Portsmouth and a number of other city school districts, is a sort of a glitch in the retirement system. The way it actually, it didn't exactly do what we think they intended it to do, and it was, everybody thought it was unfairly penalizing some of the cities. So I believe that was part of the discussion, that they would wait to fund that until they were sure that the legislature had fixed that correction, and there were, times certain, I think, put in in all the agreements. That's why I wish Attorney Flaggar was here, because he had all the details that I.
Well, I could tell you a little bit.
I'm not sure we're presenting them to the city yet.
Right. Well, we're voting on this, and then it passes
Right.
up to the city, and
So,
then they.
so if you
act
vote,
on it next.
if you vote to approve them tonight, then they will be waiting in the queue for it to go to the city. They will be forwarded to the city, and they'll be waiting in the queue for the city council to take them up as a group. How big the group is right at the moment, I'm not sure.
Okay. Ann?
I had just wanted to say that it's Article 33 of House Bill 1645 that is the problem child, and that's what they're trying to delete. And working on it madly. How long it will take, we don't know. But meanwhile, it would be nice to approve these contracts.
Okay. Okay. So why don't we take them up one at a time, and I'll entertain a motion to accept the paraprofessional union first.
I move that we accept the paraprofessionals' tentative agreement.
Second?
Any discussion? Kent?
I just, knowing that this will be the final time that I see majority of paraprofessionals, they were the first group 16 years ago, and we were in yearly negotiations back then. I only see like 3 of you that were back there. God bless you. And they are a group that was near and dear, because every year for the first 6 years that I was on the board, we sat across the table. And many times it became it became issues that had to be dealt with one-on-one to allow progress to happen, and it was up to the paraprofessionals to educate the not-so-smart boards at times to realize the importance of paraprofessionals. So this group, of all groups, and I appreciate every group there, having to sit with them 6 times in the past. I didn't do it the last 10 years because that was only 2 times, but I really appreciate what you do for the minimal amount of compensation to deal with our most difficult issues. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, let's have a roll call vote.
Regarding approval of the paraprofessional contract and sending it to City Council, what is your pleasure? Dexter Legg?
Yes.
Patrick Ellis?
Yes?
Kent LePage?
Yes.
Ann Walker?
Yes.
Leslie Stevens?
Yes.
Lisa Sweet?
Yes.
Rebecca Emerson?
Yes.
Sherry Hemgarity?
Yes.
Dr. Mitch Schulman?
Yes,
It's unanimous. Thank
passes
you.
unanimously. You can clap. Thank you. If I could entertain a motion for the next, for the Custodial Supervisors Union? Do I hear a motion?
So moved?
Second.
Any discussion on that? Roll call vote.
Regarding the custodial supervisors, Patrick Ellis?
Yes?
Kent LePage?
Yes.
Ann Walker?
Yes.
Leslie Stevens?
Yes.
Lisa Sweet?
Yes.
Rebecca Emerson?
Yes.
Dexter Legg?
Yes.
Sherry Hemgarity?
Yes.
Dr. Schulman?
Yes.
Unanimous?
Next up is the Clerical Union.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Regarding the Clerical Association, Kent LePage?
Yes.
Ann Walker?
Yes.
Leslie Stevens?
Yes.
Lisa Sweet?
Yes.
Rebecca Emerson?
Yes.
Dexter Legg?
Yes.
Patrick Ellis?
Yes?
Sherry Hemgarity?
Yes.
Dr. Schulman?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Thank you. And then the last one for tonight is the Administrative Association. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Thank you. Any discussion? Another roll call vote.
Regarding the Administrators Association, what is your pleasure? Ann Walker?
Yes.
Leslie Stevens?
Yes.
Lisa Sweet?
Yes.
Rebecca Emerson?
Yes.
Dexter Legg?
Yes.
Patrick Ellis?
Yes?
Kent LePage?
Yes.
Sherry Hemgarity?
Yes.
Dr. Mitch Schulman?
Yes.
Unanimous, thank you.
So all 4 pass, and we look forward to the final 2 coming up at some point. Okay.
Very good.
On the agenda, just a reminder, we're going to have a school board mini retreat this coming weekend, March 14th at the Portsmouth High School between 9 o'clock in the morning, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, to review the goals we've had for the last year. Sherry, is there anything you want to say about that?
Yes. Eat breakfast before you come. There will be coffee and water only, so do not expect to be fed. It will only be till 1, so therefore you don't get lunch either. Eat after we're done. And I did ask Amy to give us a copy of the objectives or goals for tonight, and I don't see it. Okay. I did want to, unless you can all pull out your old information from the last time we met, as far as, like, I can only really remember 3. We did, we
Yeah.
talked about a 5-year
had 5
technology
or 6.
plan, we had an educational index, we had this task force on special education, but whatever those, 5 or 6 things are what we're going to be talking about, so please, thank you. If you can find it, it will just refresh your memory for what we'll be discussing on Saturday.
Okay.
Am I missing anything?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Okay. And Dr. Lister.
Informational, the last item about graduation and the end of the year, only because in the news, it's very apparent that most school systems are trying to deal with making up days that are missed because of the weather. I would remind everyone that winter is not over here, and we're not only talking about snow days, we're talking about if there were any flood days or any disasters or anything like that, so they're not just snow days that we have to make up. But we do have a proposal. The leadership team has submitted a proposal to Dr. Tracy, the commissioner, and Ed Murdo in Concord for some days, giving up a couple of release days and being able to take that out on the other end and get out earlier and have graduation. I would like not to put out a date because as soon as I do that, everyone's going to go out and buy tickets for Grandma. And I prefer if we can have like another week just to be able to hear from Concord, but we are looking at setting graduation as soon as we can. I know many people are trying to plan, and we want to be respectful to that. But we also want to make sure that we make up the required time, days and hours, and we are working with the state to be able to make that happen without thinking of things like coming to school on Saturday and 30 minutes on every day and giving up days in April vacation. We're trying to be a little more creative than that. So I would ask that you bear with us for a short time, and as soon as we get information, we will come back to the board, let you know that. Once that's approved, we'll release it to the public, so we make sure that we have that in place. Usually, we have set the graduation date by this time, but we just, because of the number of days this year, it's been a little more difficult. So we're asking just for a little patience here to be able to have that happen.
Abby and Rebecca.
I was just wondering how many days we've missed so far.
6 days.
Thank you.
And my follow-up to that is we build in 4 days?
We really don't build any,
don't build them.
we don't build in any days in the calendar.
Well, there's the scheduled release and then well, okay, so we're 6 days past, which brings us to June, what?
Well, it could be June, again, I'm just hesitating because as soon as I give any dates.
As of right now.
23rd, I
The
think.
23rd,
24th,
okay.
somewhere around there.
And 2 of those days are ice storm days?
July 4th.
2 of those days are ice storm days, but they're all, to me, they're all storm days. I'm not making any delineation with the storm, and I know that people saying we were a shelter for 2 days. Yes, we were, but we've missed 6 days of school, and that's what I have to be concerned with.
Day is a day.
Day is a day.
6
It's a
days,
day.
thank you.
So you
So
have
as
a
soon as I get information, I'll come right back to the board
Okay.
and make sure you know that.
Okay. Anything else? Great. Anything other under agenda? Yes, Lisa.
I think we talked last time about having an update on the middle school building project, if there was any information at all, because I wonder, just because of our
Okay.
project schedule, we're getting behind, and I just didn't know if that's okay or not.
I don't have,
If I could just, regarding eminent domain, I did meet with Attorney Sullivan on Friday, asked him what the status of that is. That seems to be something that's holding some things up here at this point. He said he had still not heard anything about the appraisal, and he was still waiting for the appraisal, and wasn't able to do anything until that appraisal came in.
okay.
So what is
we'll-
our next step exactly? I mean, what is it, we're waiting for the
I
appraisal?
guess we need to talk, well, besides the appraisal, which will give us the actual dollar figure for that
Right.
piece of our budget, I guess we could pursue talking to the mayor and finding out what's on their mind.
Yeah, I mean, my understanding was that they were waiting for 3 pieces, the appraisal, understanding of state funding,
Right.
and any potential federal funds.
That
And
might
it seems to me that we have answers for 2 of those 3.
The state has
The
cut
state
money in
has,
there.
has said yes.
Right.
It appears as if, based on what Steve has reported out, the federal money likely will be unavailable.
Right.
And the last piece is the appraisals. I think once that piece comes in, it would seem to me that we should ask the city council to quickly get it on their agenda for consideration.
Right, and are we ready to move to, to do our part as soon as possible to get the schematic design and design development rolling as soon as we're able to, once the city tells us?
Once the city votes on
Bonding?
on the bonding,
Right,
then the next immediate step would be the formation of a JBC, and everything else would flow from that.
okay. So we can't do anything here until the formation of the JBC?
I believe that's true.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that that is true.
Yeah, you have, until, the 2 pieces that we have to wait for, and, the sub-pieces Steve said that the city council has to wait for, we have to wait for them to have the bonding approval that they will so so do so as a city. And then secondarily would be the JBC to have to be formed.
Is it too much time passes between what we put in for
Correct.
and the formation of the JBC? There may be things that we need to go back and redo or rethink.
Well, once they vote bond, depending on,
Nothing you can do.
depending on what that limp number is, you know, if it's near what we've asked for, then that's the number that is. If it's way lower than we asked for, then we as a board need to rethink
Right.
with the architects, do we feel that with their advice that they could build the building they've proposed at whatever that
Right.
number is?
My only concern is that, you know, the amount that we agreed on depended on a certain schedule,
Timetable,
on a
correct.
timetable. And so,
The longer it takes, the more it'll cost.
well, maybe, or maybe not, we don't know. You know, just that piece. I just want to make sure that the school board is ready to do everything we need to do to get this done as soon as we can. That's all.
Okay.
Dr. List, it sounds that in your discussion with the attorney that this is true, but I guess what I would ask you is that anything that you can ask of the city council and the city attorney to accelerate this process so that we can get the third piece. Because to Lisa's point, the longer this gets delayed, it creates all sorts of issues for us from a timing perspective and all other issues. So the sooner that we can get this thing decided up or down, the better off we are. So if you haven't had that discussion, if you could circle back with Attorney Sullivan and ask him if you could in any way accelerate
Right.
the completion of that appraisal.
Right.
The discussion that the city council has started regarding the Connie Bean Center, do we have a sense that that will slow us down in terms of moving forward with the joint building committee? We do not feel that it'll slow us down. Is that? They haven't made a decision. Can we move forward with the design until they?
If you want my opinion on that, I'm saying no. It's, I think the crux for us to be able to I mean, I've still been in contact with the architects on a regular basis. And, you know, we're all poised and ready to go. I think the biggest key for us now is to figure out when the bond vote will take place, and then we know how to adjust and what, you know, how far out they're willing to work, because until the bond vote happens, we don't have any funding for any more work.
Right.
So we need to get to that point so we know what the calculated risk is for the architects to either do work and wait to be paid or not, I think, is basically where we're at. So I think once we know when that's going to happen, we can start a schedule, and then once it happens, then we can roll.
Right.
But I don't think the Connie Bean Center solution is going to affect the timing of the project, because it's really just doubling up something that's already going to be part of the design anyways, and they did talk about that would be a separate bond issue in any case.
Dexter and then Lisa.
I mean, just to reemphasize that, I think since the design always had in it a potential for a second gymnasium, it would seem to me that from our perspective, we could continue on, and if they were to bond the middle school, we could continue with schematic design work. And if at some point after that, they caught up with a Connie Bean solution, we could add to it. What we don't want to have happen, and we have no need for that, is to combine those two issues into one item, because that will just set us back even further.
I don't disagree, but where it does cross paths is with the parking structure, which was going to be tied to the state funding aid.
True.
Just parking in general.
Lisa.
And then to follow up on one of Dexter's earlier points that, you know, the cost of the project depends on the timetable. It's also a phased project, and we're going to be constructing in a learning environment. And so we're counting on, you know, timing to be able to begin and do things we need to do when students are not there. So, our time, this is a very
Right.
delicate project with the timing. So we need as much help as we can get, because I feel a little bit frustrated because we're just kind of waiting.
We're in the waiting mode. And I think what Dexter was saying too, both of the parking garage and the second gym were part of our discussions, and we realized in terms of the cost that it wouldn't be prudent to put those costs in, So it's hard for me to imagine the city council, and this is going to be a tough decision on their part, to not vote for the full amount for the middle school and yet vote more money for the second gym and the parking garage. I mean, that's an interesting scenario, so. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Moving on to committee reports, safe routes to schools. Anything on that today?
Ms.
Okay.
Rebecca, would you like to add anything?
You want to put it off to another
No,
meeting?
perhaps Bob could update us on if anything exciting happened. But the next meeting is Wednesday, the 18th at 9 a.m.
Okay.
And I believe it's at New Franklin.
It's a New Franklin School, and we do have, the mayor did appoint a couple of new members to the committee, which is good, and we did have, on our last agenda, bring up the issue of the ice and snow on the sidewalks.
you.
We're working with the city yard to make sure that happens, but it really isn't a function of the safe routes to schools. But we did talk about the ice and the sidewalks for students coming to the schools, walking to school, among other items. And also looking at some workshops in the future, another walk-to-school day, and some other activities. There is another grant that we're applying for to be able to have signs to slow traffic down in certain areas. And I would like maybe at some point within the next several months to be able to have a little more of a work session, if you will, just a presentation about safe routes to school, because this is really expanding quite a bit to include lots of different activities around the city that have to do with families and children and walking to school and biking to school. So, but it's a very active committee, and the school board is well represented on that committee, which is good. And we're meeting in all the schools. Our meetings are taking place in the schools. We're circulating around the schools, which is great. Principals have been very supportive, and so have the parents in each one of the schools.
I know there was money for new bike racks at some of the schools, and there was a holdup on that. Do you know if those are coming through?
Well, it seems like that's one of the agendas items we talk about all the time. They have ordered some bike racks. There were some designs they were looking at. There was a discussion about the middle school. Should they be temporary, put in the ground, where there's going to be some construction there? And I think that we're going to probably put the bike racks around the schools once the spring comes. But they wanted to do some bike safety workshops around that and talk about anti-theft and several other areas. We're teaching kids about caring for their bikes as well.
So there's discussion about doing like a bike safety kind of thing?
Working with the police department as well, yes.
I know at Little Harbor, they're talking about doing a bike rodeo, which was that
Bike
kind of
rodeo,
stuff.
yep.
So have you been in touch with?
We've talked about the bike rodeo. And the police department, the SROs, elementary SROs, is involved in the bike rodeo, and we've talked to them several times. So,
Lisa?
And my understanding is that the funding for that is kind of more for bike racks and activities and things like that. It's not huge money, but that the group is sort of identifying the safe routes and issues that the city might have with infrastructure and stuff. So I'm wondering if on Parrot Ave, the fact that it doesn't have sidewalks all the way down, has that been identified by the committee as maybe an infrastructure improvement that just might be on there?
Yeah,
I mean, I know we've talked about other ones.
Yeah, there is money in the grants for sidewalks and signage, but I'm not sure whether Parrot Avenue is involved in that
It seems
grant
like-
at this point.
Sidewalks on that street would be a good idea.
Yeah, and I think one of the things about the middle school, like the bike rack, is we're sort of in limbo.
Yeah, but the sidewalks actually, they go to the middle school and then they stop kind of over on the courthouse end.
Right.
And being such a high-intensity area, it might be a good idea for the city or that group to think about that. Just if it hasn't, I'm sure it's been identified, but.
Yeah, I know that during the first round of grants, there was a crosswalk put out in front of the middle school, which wasn't there before, so it has been.
Right, and like a crosswalk on that Chunkins for the kids on, you know, from that end of town. You know, it
Right,
seems
I
like a
believe
good
that
place
one
for
already existed,
that.
but there's one right outside the
I don't
front door
think
of the
there-
middle
I'm not
school
sure.
that never
Well, anyway.
existed. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
it is, and we have representatives from the different schools.
This isn't really the time. I should
Sorry,
go to the
what do you
meeting.
say?
Okay, yes, go to the meeting.
Sorry, Mitch.
No, that's fine. This is schoolwork. Curriculum Council.
I'll probably hold off a lot more detail for our retreat Saturday. As you know, the Curriculum Council has been working on the board goals, at least 2 of them in particular this year. And so Saturday we'll share the first thing which the Curriculum Council has completed work on, which is the curriculum revision plan. I'll spend some time talking about that, as that was one of the board goals. And also the council has just started work in contributing to the creation of that educational quality index, and that's something that, again, was a board goal that we'll talk more about. The next meeting for the Curriculum Council is next Thursday, the 19th at 3:30. Yes.
And I just, Steve, as a friendly reminder, you will do like some sort of write-up that I asked at the last Curriculum Council on what some of those types of indexes and assessments and who uses what for what, and do we really use I was very confused in the last Curriculum Council meeting. So for the retreat and for explanation purposes, I asked for some paperwork from Steve that you'll all get at the retreat, which is when I'll get it. So just so you know, more paperwork's coming.
Right, and what Sherry had asked for when we talked about the curriculum and revision cycle, we're including not only the creation of curriculum, but assessment of that curriculum. And so we talked about some of the assessments we already have in place. But what wasn't clear in our meetings was what's our current use of that data, who uses it, what's the purpose of the assessment. So we'll put some of that as well together.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Okay. Anything other under committee reports? Sherry, Kent.
We just had our policy committee meeting tonight at 5 o'clock. And we are just continuing to go over the instruction portion, but we did do up some drafts that we're working on probably 3 that will probably come before you at our next meeting for a first reading, which you'll get in your packet, of course, for the next one. And then there'll be, I don't know if there'll be numerous, but there will also be ones that could be deleted. As we're cleaning up, things are getting condensed, things have gotten moved from a certain section into another section. So just so you know, there'll be some coming forward to you at your next meeting in your packets.
Under other, I was not able to attend the last rec board meeting, but I have been in discussion with both Russ and Carl Deemer, and I know that we have it under future agenda items. It is being really asked and pushed because I was selected and asked to serve on the recreational facilities and needs selection for a engineering firm to come in, and we just concluded that this past week, the selection part, and I really think the rec board would like to sit, as this goes to city council in regards to the middle school and what's absent out there, to have a work session with them. So I'm asking that we set a date no later than April 30th to sit with them.
Sit with
the whole rec
Rec
board,
board.
and
And
we
us.
can, and school board and rec board.
Okay.
Yeah, School board and rec board, to sit and have discussion, so there's a little bit better understanding. Basically, I think we're pretty good with the understanding of what Russ and his people are doing, especially as we now are basically taking over K through 12, picking up that K through 8 this time through the budget cycle. I think it's more of the lack and needs in the city, along with those private nonprofits also out there, maybe the Y, community campus and so forth, of what is available in the city. And again, futuristic goals on this. I was very impressed sitting with Cindy Hayden and her staff and Steve Parkinson on this needs facility and where Portsmouth could go if so determined.
So we have, looking ahead, we have a board meeting on the 14th of April. So why don't we tentatively think about that date?
You want it, yeah, because I
Then
can
we're
get it
into
back
May.
to Russ, and Russ can get it out and tentatively say, I think an hour with them
That was my
would cover it. So if you did April
Six and
6
7.
and 7, they would really appreciate that. So again, the concerns and future goals can be looked at.
Okay, great. We'll do that. So this is just a list of discussion, Dr. Lister and I, when we were looking over the agenda, these are things that have come up that we haven't really addressed yet. So this is just some of the things in our future.
Mr. Chairman, could I just add, you'll see, as we came up with this list, we're trying to keep track of different things and keep the focus right now, as I've said in the top, on the budget and the contracts, so we make sure all our employees are taken care of here. But I would like to just refer to number 8 for a second, and that is the biodiesel fuels. I feel bad that Barclay Jackson was here, and I believe she wanted to speak, and she probably had to leave. She didn't get an opportunity to speak, and it looks like she had some information she was going to leave with us. She recently had a conversation with Steve Bartlett about biodiesel fuel. I've spoken to her in the past, and I guess that what I want to say, in case she's watching, please come back. We want to talk to you at some point.
She was here to
We will
talk,
set
but
that
she
up.
didn't sign up?
Correct.
Okay, so we didn't, okay.
So we missed out on that, but we're going to have
Okay.
her back at some point to have a discussion about that topic.
Okay,
Thank you.
right. Because I did give people a chance to,
Right. She came in after.
oh, she came in after? Okay, sorry. Okay. So anything else? All right. Yes, Ann?
I wondered what the status was of the Student Services Director.
Yes. Student Services Director, we reposted the position. We received actually more resumes and interest this time around, the second time around. And we have narrowed down, Steve Zadovic and I will be interviewing with some of the staff tomorrow. We have 4 individuals where we're interviewing and would like to go through that process and hopefully have the opportunity to nominate somebody maybe at the next board meeting.
Great.
There's very qualified people that applied, so we're pleased with that.
Well, a lot of the grants are the kind of the concern with all of this money floating around.
Oh, yeah.
Not that it's floating around.
So we'll see how that goes tomorrow.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ken?
I guess if we're under general other, I want to point out back on February 12th, because we did have February vacation, and this is really the next time that we've formally met, that unfortunately it wasn't televised. And sometimes I think it needs to be pointed out that we are really doing things right. There was discussion and on 2 fronts here. One is I want to praise, because I do know that I've got a number of calls of people having concerns that you could hurt school systems by coming forth and talking about the lack and needs and so forth. I got a number of calls and discussions with people, and that kind of discouraged me that anybody might think they coming forward on a budget to speak, and I hope they do the same for the city council and are not diminished in any way of their spirit that they came, those parents, that night, and told us during that public forum. That was actually on the 10th, and then we met again on the 12th, back to back. I saw some outstanding individuals, and I just, whether she was in the majority or in the minority, where sometimes any one of us sit, I just have to say that it's an important thing to point out that Abby, out of all the student representatives that I've ever seen, to sit here amongst an adult population and speak so clearly and read your concerns about a contract, that you did more than I have seen any adult do at any time sitting at this table representing your student body. I think it should be noted, and I do really wish that that speech had been televised. I often wish we had public speaking within the public school system.
We do.
Well, I know we do, but I wish it was mandatory. I wish it was mandatory for everybody, because what I saw that night, and you were in a minority situation, that you didn't falter, you didn't take any less than what you could put forward that night. You did one of the most outstanding speeches that I've ever heard at this table, speaking clearly and precisely to a point that you wanted to make sure that this board had heard. So I appreciate your braveness and your skills. So I think I really wish it would have been televised so that people could see what our students can do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.